I greet you all, med students year 2, and I would like to welcome you to this module, Education Technology in Curriculum Development. I believe I've met some of you via the phone. Edwin in particular, I've spoken to Edwin, and I've met some of you on the WhatsApp group. I thank you for welcoming me, and I thank you for reaching out. And I would like to say I hope we shall get to know each other better through this module course and beyond. I would like to say this is a new experience for me, and I'm sure for most of you. In this era of COVID, we are meeting virtually. We're getting to know each other from a distance. But however, this is our profession, and this is specifically the core subject of this module. And I want to say that I think it's a great opportunity. It's a new opportunity, but it's a great opportunity. This is my first time recording myself. I have taught live using Zoom, and we shall have that option. But however, for this particular case, I've tried something new. I thought, let me record myself, and first of all, for its own advantages, which we shall discuss, and but also to try out something new, and then see your feedback. So for this particular session, I'm taking this opportunity to introduce the module to you and introduce the core concepts of this particular module. So I'm just going to take us through several slides to introduce the course. Give me feedback at the end. Once you've listened to it all, give me feedback and let us see. So first of all, I would like to introduce myself as the facilitator of this module. My name is Sheba Nyakaisiki. I am a lecturer in the Faculty of Science. My academic background, specifically at university level, started with Uganda Martyrs University. I did my bachelor's degree in ethics and development studies several years ago. I then transitioned to the area of computer science and it's majored in software development in the University of Bradford, UK. Then I went ahead to do my PhD at the Technical University of Delft, Netherlands. I specialized in ICT 4D, more specifically in the area of M-Health and sustainability. I have for several years taught in the Faculty of Education this particular module on education technology. And I have been passionate for quite some time on this subject. For about 4 years, since 2016, I have been heading the Department of ICT Operations, those who provide ICT services to the university. And this was an area that I was specifically interested in. And I am glad to say that I believe I made a major contribution in UMU right now being online. So I hope it was a good decision, and I hope it brings fruit to the university. More specifically because I believe technology can really support us in teaching and learning, and more so especially in this time of COVID. We can see how valuable ICT has been, not just to the education industry, but to practically every industry. It has really facilitated most business processes. And I think this course is timely for you, first of all. And also it is timely for us in the academic area, in the African education sector, to really take opportunity and learn from the opportunity we've been given. So let me start by introducing the course, and specifically by focusing on the course overview. Now, just to start off, I want to say that this course overview is not set in stone. So one of the objectives is first of all introducing it to you pre-recorded, is that you have time to think about what you want from this module and see what I can add that we can meet our expectations. But as a facilitator and part of the course content, this is what I came out with, things that I believe are necessary. So we are starting today by introducing the module to you, the basic concepts and the basic idea behind education technology. So this is what we're going to cover today, and hopefully in our meeting online we shall discuss these in depth after you've thought about them, after I've introduced them to you. Next we shall look at teaching models and technology choice. By bringing in education technology, we are not taking away the principles, basically the principles and the theories behind teaching and learning. The technology simply comes in as a tool to enhance and basically effectively communicate what we need to communicate. So we want to see how we can integrate our teaching models, which you already are well conversant with, and then see how technology can come in to support. Not just that, we also want to make appropriate technology choice. The third after that, we want to look at communication. Because that's what essentially technology, ICT is about. It's about communication. It's about, as a teacher, as a facilitator, you want to bring a point forward and you'd like your student to receive it, and then for the student to give you feedback. So we want to understand the basic principles behind communication so that we effectively communicate using ICT or technology in general. The last 4 sessions that I thought about, I believe one of the things you would like to take home, because as teachers, you may not be ICT professionals. The assumption is that now Sheba must be an ICT professional. She knows everything about ICT. That is not necessarily true. ICT is an evolving field. Every day you have new technologies coming up, every single day. So every single day you have to teach yourself. You have to look for the technology and you have to teach yourself. And you have to determine, is it appropriate for me, for my context, for what I want to do? So we want to, first of all, understand each technology, the different types that are there, the advantages, and then how we can use them. Just at least have some basic practical experience with each of these technologies. We can't have everything. Technology is so dynamic, but we can at least, first of all, introduce ourselves to them, and then take away the fear, because that's the major thing with ICT. Take away that fear that is normally associated with using ICT. So what are the overall objectives for this module? What do we intend to achieve at the end of each session, at the end of the module in general? Well, they are quite ambitious, but we hope that these objectives can grow. We don't expect that the module is going to automatically equip you and you become tech-savvy individuals and professionals, but it is something that we hope to grow with start growing it in this module and beyond the module. So first of all, I like to think of the context myself. I like to, when I go back to my ICT 4D research and really looking at the context, the first thing is to look at our existing environment and see what issues exist for us now. For example, now we're in the virtual environment. What are those things that exist for us? And what would exist in a physical classroom? What are those issues that are going to affect us using technology? Then we want to look at the ICT context, the ecosystem for the ICT. What applications exist and what can we use? For example, now I'm using PowerPoint, which all of us have at our fingertips. And I'm recording myself and you're listening to me and you can give me feedback. We are basically using those applications. They're those applications that we are not aware exist. There are those applications we already have, but we don't know how dynamic they are. So we want that at the end of this module, each one of you can be able to identify those applications, can be able to look at the context in which you're teaching and learning, and then identify those issues that you need to have a grasp on, to understand, so that you can create a rich environment for teaching and learning using technology. We want also basically to look at curriculum. We don't want this technology to simply come in and take over. No, it's coming in as a source of enhancement, as something that is going to enhance our teaching and learning. So we want to see how this technology can be applied into our curriculum. Basically what we talked about in the second session, basically looking at our teaching models and how can we then integrate this into curriculum. We ourselves as teachers, because sometimes we imagine ICT is supposed to do these things for us. No, that is not the case. This is not the case. The ICT professionals are there to basically build for you your structures, and then for you to come in and use what you find, what is being placed before you. It is sort of like a cook. A cook goes in and prepares an array of food, and then whoever is coming to serve themselves picks and selects based on themselves. Some people want to watch their diet, others really want to taste everything, others are maybe people with chronic illnesses like diabetes or hypertension, so they may want to avoid certain things. So you as a teacher, what ICT can do for you is put forward to you the technologies that are available. Let's say you're in a school. If you have an ICT department or an ICT person, that person can bring forward to you all the technologies, and then you pick and select what you want basing on your curriculum, and design basically a platform for yourself to deliver your content. So we also want to see how you can plan and design your technology for your learning environment. So after each of them, we don't just want to plan and design and then implement. We also want to evaluate. For example, this is the first time I'm using this technique. At the end of each session, I would like to hear from you what you think I did well, what did I do not do well, how effective was it at delivering to you what you needed, and where I can do better. So we also want to include in this you evaluating your technology plans so that you can improve at each and every session. We shall see that education is a lifelong process. So even in this time when we're starting to use technology, we want to continuously evaluate ourselves. Significantly, we also want to look at the social, ethical, and legal matters that are associated with using technology. So we want to be able to pinpoint those things that I would say the soft issues that may be ignored but may eventually cause maybe great harm or great opportunities. We don't know. We'd like to be able to describe them, discuss them, and know them, so that we as professionals who are now getting into it, we are not caught offhand, that we may not cause ripples, we may not cause adverse effects that we didn't intend to. Of course, we have to cause some effect, but we want to be able to mitigate any of those effects. So with that, I welcome you to the course by beginning to discuss, basically bringing up a discussion, starting a discussion, which you can also later on give me feedback on why are we doing this? Why introduce this? Why don't we stick to the age-old idea of having that physical classroom where we teach in a physical classroom and move forward from that? During this time of COVID, we've had situations where we've had discussions, I think, especially in Uganda, where government proposed, let us try learning, do digital learning, let us try using radios and so on and so forth. And we saw in most cases this didn't happen. For the some of the private schools in Kampala and elsewhere, they have managed to do this. Some of the international schools were quite, they were really, it wasn't a problem for them. So this is something that it has been successful in some areas, it has not been successful in others. So the major question is, why should we have them? Is there even a reason for us to go online? Well, yes. When I look at this quote, I realize I think this author was really a prophet. We don't really have an option. I think it is something that must happen. As much as we want to say that we are in terms of the Ugandan context, we're not ready for sure. In many areas, we're not ready, but it is something that we can't avoid. And I think COVID has emphasized this point. We can't avoid it. We can't avoid introducing technology into the classroom. The only question is, how can we do it? I think that is the biggest question. But I think COVID has forced us to do this faster than how we would have liked to do it. So even before COVID, why was this being pushed forward? Why was the education in the classroom, technology, in the classroom being pushed forward? Well, for one thing, learning is a lifelong process. And I think for teachers, you've heard this said over and over again. But nothing emphasizes this more than technology. ICT really supports lifelong learning. Why? I'll just give you an example. When I was starting to record this thing, I had done this before, but I had forgotten. And I got my phone and I called my colleague. I said, I can't remember how I did this. Before he got back to me with the solution, I went online and Googled and I said, okay, then I went back to my PowerPoint application and played around with it. And that was a learning process for me. And I don't think I'll forget it after this. Tomorrow it may be with the Word application. Next time it is with Excel, and so on and so forth. So nothing emphasizes lifelong learning than ICT. Nothing emphasizes that more than ICT. You can get a vast amount of information. Of course, some of it can be detrimental to the teaching and learning process, as we all know. Some people have had nasty experiences, but on the whole, it is a great resource that anyone who is following the philosophy of lifelong learning or the idea, it is really a wonderful resource. Now, it is important that any student we have, whether it's a pupil in primary all the way up to university, any student must be prepared for that. And nobody is better to prepare that student than the teacher themselves. But the teacher must also be equipped for that. The teacher must also be aware of the great opportunity that ICT presents, so that you can pass on this very idea to your students. Now, why prepare these students for that? Why prepare ourselves for that? One, it is to fit into the current society that we are living in. We are living in a world which is saturated with information, and information that is delivered to us using ICT, using technology of whatever platform, be it on Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and so on and so forth. We have so much information. Now, we don't even say search for something, we say Google it. That is how ICT and all and everything that comes with it has really infiltrated our everyday life. Now, to be able to exist in this world, to be able to grow in this kind of society, It is important that every student comes out with a very good grasp on technology. Well, some of us might say students already tech savvy. They know Instagram better than we do. I have my young nieces and nephew. They take to Instagram like nothing. And myself, I'm not on Instagram. I don't even know how to use it. The first and most important thing I'd like to say, the teacher can do a lot in directing a student to use this technology appropriately. The rest of the world can teach you, but they may not teach you appropriately. But the teacher can. The teacher can direct that student to use this technology appropriately. We don't have any choice. It's there. But we can direct our students to use it appropriately so that tomorrow when that student is in the workplace, that student knows how to use these technologies effectively. Also for you as a teacher, it also increases your profile. It basically shows you are somebody who can operate quite efficiently in this world that is technology saturated. You can operate with that. So essentially what we are saying is that the society in which we're living in today, it's not a question of should we use technology or not. We must use it. That is a fact. The only question is how can we use it appropriately? How can we integrate it into the teaching and learning process and basically equip ourselves and our students to fit into this world that is essentially information-based. So we're going to start with basic concepts. These concepts I'm going to introduce you, they are not set in stone. Your teachers, I'm sure you know that there are vast definitions and quite dynamic, and they keep growing. But let's have a basic understanding from which we can grow. We can grow our ideas and our discussions on. So here we have with us several concepts which we are going to go through one at a time, and hopefully we shall have a discussion on your thoughts and ideas on this. Please take time to think about them, and let us have a discussion on this. So we start with education. So what is education? That is a basic question which I'm sure you are all you all fully understand. You may have a much better understanding than myself. What is education essentially? So here we are looking at, when we look at the journey of education, when you look at your own journey of education, what it has taken for you to come from that time. Probably you may not remember your kindergarten stage. You may not remember your primary. You may have some memory of primary, secondary, a great deal, and university, quite a bit more. But what transpired from that time to now? There are many habits you picked up, there are skills you picked up, there's knowledge that you have built, and you continue to build. And this information essentially came to you over time. These are things that have grown over time. You picked these up from the different teachers, the different facilitators whose hands you passed through. You picked some of these things from your fellow classmates, and so on and so forth. So when we look at education, we're basically looking at transferring of these skills, habits, knowledge from a teacher or group of teachers to a group of people, and back and forth. Because nowadays, before we used to say education we had this idea that the student was empty and you are simply pouring information into them. But that is not the case. Even now, we also learn from our students themselves. Like myself, I'm really hoping to pick a lot from you, because you're really the academic, you are the education professionals. I am not. I'm an ICT professional. So I expect to learn more from you, learn quite a bit from you, just as much as I'm also imparting some ICT skills on you. So you can see this would be the basic that I would give you. But as we go further, we shall see that there is a lot more to teaching, as even yourselves you will let me know. Now, when we think of education, of course, we think of we think of the formal kind of education where we have a classroom or a virtual classroom, like in our case, where you have a profession imparting knowledge on you, or you have certain processes you're going through to receive certain skills and knowledge. But there are also times when there are some people who are self-directed or self-taught. Now, also ICT really does do that. I gave you the example of just this recording, how I went through my own process of self-teaching because I knew I had done it somewhere, I had read it, I'd done it before, then I forgot about it and I said, okay, let me go back. Let me go back and see some of these things. So it is essentially, when we look at the education process, as we discuss it, we realize it can be quite dynamic. You can have a situation where somebody is taught in a formal setting. You have another situation where another person is taught in an informal setting. However, there is nothing to say that let's combine these processes. We can start the teaching process in a formal setting, like in a virtual classroom, like what we are having, and then allow the student within their own spare time to go and think about what they have done, to rethink it and then reapply it into their own setting. So this is where the self-direction comes in. I would like for you to tell me, maybe in our discussions, what informal, non-informal, and informal education could be. Let's have a discussion on that and see how ICT can come into support. We come to our second concept, technology. So what is technology? Most of the time when we think of the term technology, we immediately think of a tool. For example, if I hold up this is a mouse. We think of something like this, a mouse or a computer, or an object. We basically think of an object. But as time goes on, you have discussions on a wide variety of things, you realize the term is used more dynamically. Someone may use it to describe, for instance, a process. Someone may use it to describe a body of knowledge, can use it to describe skills. Any of these things are essentially technology. The most important thing is to remember when we are talking about technology, we're talking about scientific method and material. When you combine the two, the scientific method and material, that is one of the most important. Another important factor to remember when it comes to technology is that it's normally identified with, technology normally comes in when you have a problem, where we then use technology to resolve that problem. So this may not, when we use the term problem, we use it loosely. It could be an existing problem, or it could be an objective, something we want to achieve. Take an example. If a farmer wants to plant maize, for example, that farmer will need to dig a hole and into the soils, or if the soils are not fertile, we'll need to apply fertilizer, then put the maize seed, and then wait for the rains, or apply irrigate artificially, and then let the plant grow. Now, technology has come in several ways. One in knowing that your soils are not fertile. Two, applying fertilizer or manure, and that is also that knowledge of what manure to use. And then digging the hole, using the hole. The hole itself is technology. So now here you're meeting an objective, which is planting. Which planting may be because you're hungry, you need to resolve the problem of hunger, or to generate some extra income for your household. So this essentially, you see technology here, that whole, whatever we've used in there, we've used technology. We realize that there was the scientific method that has been applied, and there has been some material that we have used. So essentially, when we look at technology and we think about it, we realize that this is something that has existed for centuries and centuries, and that we can go as far back as we can go. It has been used by human beings, and it has affected the society and individuals. And we even notice that even in animals themselves, technology exists. For example, there have been observations of monkeys which are trying to get at something in a small hole, where they get a stick and try to poke to get something out of it. That is the most basic animal using technology. But for us as human beings, it has existed. And when you go back into the history of humankind, you see the human beings moving through the Stone Age and so on and so forth until where we are now, basically moving with technology. Now, in the current times where we have come, technology has been so much conceptualized and integrated that we actually have it applied in specific areas. As you notice on this slide, you will notice that technology has actually moved into specific areas. We have technology that has been developed to support specific fields. Our field in education is, especially in Africa, is really starting to catch up. So when we go back through the definition of technology, we see that it is essentially, it has evolved, the definition itself. Where at first we looked at technology as an object, where we looked at physical machines. This, I think I gave just a brief discussion in the previous slides, where we look at it as an object that we use. For example, I gave the mouse. The mouse is such an example. Knowledge. The knowledge behind a certain innovation. The example I gave you of using manure, for example, that is knowledge. Activities people do, there are certain activities people do, and these are considered as technology. People have certain skill on doing something. Technology is also a process. So then we also see it as a socio-technical system. So all of these are technology. And when we look at education technology, we shall see that the education technology actually encompasses all of these things. It isn't just about just us thinking about using the computer, using PowerPoint, but several things as well. For me now to use this process of teaching you via a pre-recorded presentation, PowerPoint presentation, it would require certain skills, which skills I'm developing. They are not yet there, but I'm on my way to getting there. Skills that I hope to improve and also to impart onto you. All of this is technology. So what is education technology? Coming from this background discussion that we've just had, what is the technology itself? So we realize it's actually a combination of process and tools. Yeah, a combination of process and tools. So it isn't just that we are going to talk about computers. It isn't that we're just going to talk about e-learning systems and projectors and so on and so forth. It's much more than that. And then this is one of the things that I hope we shall understand. Of course, we can't pick all skills from here, because one, that would be too huge a subject for us to cover, but it would be something that it should be an idea that we should have in the back of our heads, that as we leave this module, we are going to start with the basics that we've started with and grow with them with time. Probably at the end of our professional lives, we shall be the experts, much better than me. So, but at the back of our heads, we must understand that they are both process and tools. Now, another significant point, as we had pointed out earlier, is the issue of need. When we go back to our definition of technology, we said that technology normally comes in to solve a problem, an existing problem, or an objective that we wish to achieve. So there must be an educational need. For this to become education technology, there must be a need that has been identified. And this is one of the most important things that we must identify before we even begin to talk about anything. There must be a need that has been identified for us to be able to say, now this is technology that we can apply. So that is a key point. Sometimes these needs are not recognized. Sometimes they are recognized. I remember, I'll just give you the example of this period of COVID. There are situations where some people will say, I don't see the need for us to go e-learning. I really don't see the need for us to go virtual. And they will insist, why don't we go back to our original face-to-face classes? Not recognizing the diverse effects of COVID. That is one. There are also situations also when you look at students, especially when I think of UMU and our master's students, you find individuals who are first of all have full-time jobs, and which full-time jobs don't want to know that you have decided to go back to the classroom. Your boss doesn't want to know. Somebody is a mother, is a father, and has the responsibilities, the family responsibilities that must be catered for. But this person also desires to improve or rather to attain some academic qualifications higher than their bachelor's. And the person says, I want to do all these things. I'm willing to be a mother, to be a father. I'm willing to continue with my job, but I also want to achieve this academic qualification. What would be better than going online, studying online? Because then it allows you to continue being a mother in your own home, being a father, and have your daytime job. But you can have time to download this presentation and study, and then later on understand it at your own time, and then give me feedback as the lecturer, or give me in whichever other format. That is an educational need. And I believe education technology then becomes of great significance. So, however, in my discussion, I'm only focusing on teaching and learning. But however, when we look at education technology, it covers much more than that. When we see on this slide, we see that education material, the education technology can actually be used to produce education material. For example, now I'm producing education material which I can use maybe next year or improve on it or something like that. We can use it to store information. We can use it as a medium of transmission. We can use it as a medium of access. So there's quite a lot that we can do, and it can be of great significance. Then we think of, let's come to the classroom. Now, when we think about education technology, we don't want to only focus on the virtual classroom, but the physical classroom. Now the classroom is actually changing. When I look at this description I have on this slide, I realize that there has to be some changes here and there what we think of a classroom. We do have the physical space, For sure, we still have the physical space, and that we can't get rid of. That is one of the things I want to emphasize. We can't get rid of the physical classroom. Why? That physical contact of human beings is extremely important. This is a point that as ICT professionals, we emphasize even to our students, especially our IT students, that what do I mean by that? When I'm sure all of you have heard of the e-commerce era when it came in, when all businesses were going online, and people actually argued out and said, we don't need the buildings anymore, we don't need the physical shops, we just need to go online and everything will be fine. Is that true? No. That bubble was burst, and it was actually realized that no, you cannot get rid of the age-old ways of doing business, but what we must understand is e-commerce can come into support. It doesn't get rid of, it comes into support. So it's the same thing with the physical classroom. We're not saying that as we are bringing in education technology, let us get rid of the physical classroom. We can't get rid of it, but we can have both. And what we can do is to see how we can do what we call blended learning. So you have the physical classroom, you have your teacher coming in a periodic process, in a periodic schedule, and the teacher comes in, teaches, but their teaching and learning is enhanced by technology. So we shall also see what we see as classroom technology when we use that technology to emphasize or to enhance that teaching process. So this is what we refer to as classroom technology. A term, as we go through this course, a term that you will meet and which most of us are afraid of is information technology. This is a term that usually brings jitters when anyone talks about it. I remember my previous boss, every time we talked about something, he'd say, here, I don't want to talk about it. No, you people, you know it better. But it isn't a term that I think that we should really be afraid of. It is something that we're using. Like right now, we are using information technology. As I speak right now, I'm using information technology, which you can also use. You have it right there with you. So what is information technology? What would we say it is? It is any hardware, software, networks, internet, humanware, anything that you can use to generate, store, and transmit information. Any hardware. For example, your computer. Your mobile phone, the mobile device that you have. Some people have tablets, those small gadgets. All that is IT. So it's basically anything that you would use to work with information. If you're typing a letter, when you want to type a letter, you're using IT. If you want to come up with a PowerPoint presentation, you're using IT. When you're making a recording, you can record yourself on the phone. I think every single smartphone now that you have can allow you to record yourself. And that is IT. So that is basically IT in its simplest form. That is IT. And you can do the most basic things with it. Take an example now. I'm doing the basic thing of presenting to you a PowerPoint presentation, which you can then access at leisure. That is IT. And IT basically came up with the information age. When information became a very powerful tool, that's when IT basically became a field on its own, which has really been I think of great help. In some cases, not so much. In other cases, it has been of great help, and it's now become part and parcel of our everyday lives. There's nobody apart from I don't think you can go anywhere in society now and you don't find somebody with a mobile phone, be it a smartphone or a future phone. Whatever the case, you will find it. I went to visit my 94-year-old auntie in Uganda district, and she has her simple future phone, and you can call her on it. She can call you as well. And this is a 94-year-old woman. So this is not something that this is something that we can't do without. Everybody's with it. Just that when we hear the term IT, we immediately get scared. But it is something that's already existing with us, and we can use as long as we get rid of the fear that is attached to it. Then we come to ICT itself. The minute you say it, everybody gets scared as well. So what is ICT? Basically, in the simplest terms, ICT is IT, but with a communication added to it. When it was realized that we can now begin to communicate this information that we are generating, then IT became ICT. Simply put, when the telecommunication industry came up, we now had ICT, because the telecommunication industry, what I mean by telecommunication, you have these, you have the MTNs, the UTLs, Orange, and Airtel, and so on and so forth. When this industry basically grew, we then were introduced to the world of ICT. Because we now have this information which we were storing, we are retrieving, and all of that, we are now beginning to transmit it or to receive it electronically. That's essentially what happened. So take an example now. I have developed this content on my PC, on my laptop. I am going to upload it onto the Moodle platform. You will access it, you will download it onto your computer, take time to listen to it, and also formulate your own information and then give me feedback, either via Zoom or through a discussion forum on Moodle. But that there we are basically using ICT. What happened? How did we use it? How does it come about? Well, this computer that I have, I connect it to a network. For example, MTN network. That MTN network gives me access to the network at Uganda Martyrs University. Wherever you are, you will access the Uganda Martyrs University network, access the Moodle platform, and retrieve this information. So we are using a network, we are using internet, we're using so many things. That is ICT. In the simplest terms that I can think of, that is a basic description I can give you. Now, we have gone through the concepts. We've had a thorough discussion. I want to ask you, just as some leading questions. We have had a discussion on what technology is. We've understood, or hopefully I hope you've understood, that technology comes in with a need. If we are to look at our students, what student needs can you identify? In your experience as a teacher, what student needs can you identify, and how can technology be used to support? As a teacher, what needs can you identify? And how can technology support? As an administrator, or you've observed administration work at your school or your institution, what needs can you identify where technology can support? Finally, I want to know, what is your personal experience in using technology? What experience have you had, and what is your expectation at the end of this module? I want to sincerely thank you for listening to me. I would like to ask you to go through this this recording, and if you have any questions, any comments, post them on the discussion forum that is activated on the Moodle site. Or you can send me a question if you're feeling shy, you don't want to post something publicly, or send me an email, whichever is most comfortable with you, and let us have a fruitful discussion. I thank you.